जय गुरुदेवा श्रीला गुरुदेवा कि बजयो जयो गौरचंदे आरती के शोभा कि बजयो कि बजयो जयो गौरचंदेर आरती के शोभा कि बजयो जयो गौरचंदेर आरती के शोभा जानावी तातावाने जग मन लोबा जानावी तातावाने जग मन लोबा की बदाखी नैनीताय चान बामे गदाधारा बामे गदाधारा की बदाखी नैनीताय चान बामे गदाधारा नैनीताय चान बामे गदाधारा नीकाते अद्वैदाश्रीनी वस छत्रधारा नीकाते वस छत्रधारा कि बबोशी अचे गौरचान रत्न सिंहासने शी अचे गौरचान रत्न सिंहासने कि बबोशी अचे गौरचान रत्न सिंहासने याचे गौरचान हो आरती कोरे ना ब्रह्मा आदि देवगाने आरती कोरे कि बनर हरि आदि कोरी चामर दुलाया चामर दुलाया कि बनरा हरि आदि कोरी चामर दुलाया संजया मुकुंद बाशु घोष आदि गाया संजया शिव शंका बाजे घंटा बाजे बाजे करताला किव शंका बाजे घंटा बाजे बाजे करताला बाजे घंटा बाजे बाजे करताला ओ माधुर मृदंगा बाजे परम रसाला माधुर मृदंगा बाजे परम रसाला शंका बाजे घंटा बाजे माधुर 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 बाजे घंटा बाजे ओ शंका बाजे घंटा बाजे माधुर 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 बाजे ओ शंका बाजे घंटा बाजे बाजे मधुर माधुर बाजे माधुर 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 बाजे माधुर 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 बाजे ओ माधुर 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 बाजे माधुर 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 ओ शंका बाजे घंटा बाजे माधुर 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 बाजे ओ माधुर 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 बाजे माधुर 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 बा ओ गौरंगेरारतिक शोभा जग जन मान लोभा अतिक शोभा जग जन मान लोभा जग जन मान लोभा जग ओ गौरंगेरारतिक शोभा जग जन मान लोभा लोभा गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय निताय जय गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय जय गौरानित ओ जय गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय निताय गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय जय गौरानित ओ जय गौराचंदेर जय गौराचंदेर जय गौराचंदेर जय गौराचंदेर चंदेर जय गौराचंदेर जय गौराचंदेर जय गौराचंद ओ जय गौराचंदेर 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 जय गौराचंदेर चंदेर जय गौराचंदेर गौराचंदेर जय गौराचंदेर कि बहु कोटि चंद्रजीनी वदन उज्ज्वला कोटि चंद्रजीनी वदन उज्ज्वला कि बहु कोटि चंद्रजीनी वदन उज्ज्वला ओ गला दे से बनमाला कोरे जलमाला ओ कि बशिवा शुखा नारदा प्रेमे गदा गदा कि बशिवा शुका नारदा प्रेमे गदा गदा शुका नारदा प्रेमे गदा गदा भक्ति विनोदा देखे गौरार संपदा हो भक्ति विनोदा देखे गौरार संपदा गौरार संपदा की बजयो ओ जयो गौरा चंदे आरती के शोभा आरती के शोभा जानावी तातावाने जग मन लोभा हो जानावी तातावाने जग मन लोभा ओ जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंदा श्री चैतन्य गौर भक्तवृंद जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्तवृंद हो जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्तवृंद जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्तवृंद हो गौर भक्तवृंद गौर भक्तवृंद गौर भक्तवृंद गौर भक्तवृंद गौर भक्तवृंद जय गौर भक्तवृंद गौर भक्तवृंद जय गौर भक्त हरिहराय नमः कृष्ण यादवाय नमः नमः कृष्ण यादवाय नमः यादवाय माधवाय केशवाय नमः हे माधवाय केशवाय नमः ओ गोपाल गोविंद राम श्री मधुसूदन गोपाल गोविंद हम श्री मधुसूदन गिरिधरी गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन हो श्री चैतन्य नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत सीता नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत सी हो श्री चैतन्य नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत सीता चैतन्य नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत सी ओ हरि गुरु वैष्णव भगवत गीता ओ हरि गुरु वैष्णव भगवत गीता भगवत गीता हो श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ ओ श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ ओ श्री जीवा गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथ गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो ओ गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो गोविंद ओ ओ गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो, गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो, ओ गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो, ओ राधा रमन हरि गोविंद बोलो, ओ राधा रमन हरि गोविंद बोलो, ओ राधे राधे बोलो कृष्णा कृष्णा बोलो, राधे राधे बोलो कृष्णा कृष्णा बोलो, ओ राधे राधे बोलो कृष्णा कृष्णा बोलो, ओ राधे राधे बोलो कृष्णा कृष्णा बोलो, राधे राधे बोलो कृष्णा कृष्णा बोलो, ओ राधे राधे बोलो कृष्णा कृष्णा बोलो, ओ कृष्णा कृष्णा बोलो राधे राधे बोलो, कृष्णा कृष्णा बोलो राधे राधे बोलो, ओ राधे राधे बोलो गोविंद गोविंद बोलो, राधे राधे बोलो गोविंद गोविंद, ओ बोलो राधा रमन हरि गोविंद बोलो, ओ राधा रमन हरि गोविंद बोलो, ओ गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो, गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो, ओ राधा रमन हरि गोविंद बोलो, राधा कृष्णा कृष्णा बोलो राधे राधे बोलो, कृष्णा बोलो राधे राधे बोलो, ओ कृष्णा कृष्णा बोलो राधे राधे बोलो, ओ राधा रमन हरि गोविंद बोलो, ओ हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे बोलो बोलो, ओ हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, ओ हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे ओ हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, ओ हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, ओ हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, ओ हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, ओ हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, राम हरे हरे, जय राधा नील माधव श्री राधे, नील माधव श्री राधे, जय राधे जय राधे जय राधे जय श्री राधे, राधे जय राधे जय राधे जय श्री राधे, ओ निताय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल, निताय गौरा हरि बोल, और हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल. Everyone bow down please. जय ओम विष्णुपदा परहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य शत्र शत्र श्री श्रीमद हिस्ट्री एंड गेस्ट शिला एसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की. जय ओम विष्णुपदा परहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य शत्र शत्र श्री श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की. नामाचार्य हरिदास ठाकुर की. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद. जय द्विता गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की. श्री श्री राधा कृष्णा गोपा गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की. वृंदावन धाम की, मथुरा धाम की, नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की, जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की, गंगा माई यमुना माई की, तुलसी देवी भक्ति देवी की, सामवेद भक्त वृंद की, गौर प्रेमानंदे. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Mastaya Buddha Bhakti Vedanta Samhita Namaste Saraswati Gauranga. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Prahlad Lad Daine. Hiranyakashi Porvakshaha. Shilatankanakalaye, Shilatankanakalaye, Ito Narsimha Parato Narsimha, Narsimha Parato Narsimha, Ito Narsimha Parato Narsimha, Narsimha Parato Narsimha. Yato yato yamitato narsimha. Yato yamitato narsimha. Bahir narsimha hridaye narsimha. Narsimha hridaye narsimha. Narasimha adhima sharanam prapadena. तव कर कमलावरे नकाम अद्भुत श्रृंगाम दलिता हिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृंगाम केशवधृता नरहरि रूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे. अद्भुत श्रृंगाम दलिता हिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृंगाम केशवधृता नरहरि रूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे. जय केशवधृता नरहरि रूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे. जय केशवधृता नरहरि रूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे. ओ जय नरसिंह देव जय नरसिंह देव जय नरसिंह देव जय नरसिंह देव सिंह देव नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंह. ओ जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय भक्त प्रहलाद जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय भक्त प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय भक्त प्रहलाद. ओ जय जगन्नाथा जय बलदेवा जय सुभद्रा मा जय सुदर्शन चक्र. जगन्नाथा जय बलदेवा जय
सुभद्रा माँ जय सुदर्शन चक्र।
हो जय सीताराम जय लक्ष्मण हनुमान जय सीताराम जय लक्ष्मण हनुमान सीताराम जय लक्ष्मण हनुमान जय सीताराम जय लक्ष्मण हनु। हो जय प्रभुपदा जय गुरुदेवा जय प्रभुपदा श्रील गुरुदेवा प्रभुपदा श्रील गुरुदेव। ओ निताय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौरा हरि बोल। जय श्री विघ्नहर्ता नरसिंहदेव भगवान की, भक्त प्रहलाद महाराज की, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय बोल। प्रेमानंदे हरि 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 बोल। जय नंद लाला जय गोपाला 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 जय नंद लाला जय गो। श्री राधे गोविंदा मन भजले हरि का प्यारा नाम है। श्री राधे गोविंदा मन भजले हरि का प्यारा नाम है। श्री राधे गोविंदा मन भजले हरि का प्यारा नाम है। राधे गोविंदा मन भजले हरि का प्यारा नाम है। गोपाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है। नंदलाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है। गोपाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है। नंदलाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है। गोपाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है। नंदलाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है। जय नंदलाला जय गोपाला जय नंदलाला जय गोप। हो जय नंदलाला जय गोपाला जय नंद। हो जय नंदलाला जय गोपाला। हो जय नंदलाला जय गोपाला नंदलाला जय गो। हो जय नंदलाला जय गोपाला नंदलाला जय गो। हो जय नंदलाला जय गोपाला। हो जय नंदलाला जय गोपाला। बोलो बोलो। हो जय नंदलाला जय गोपाला नंदलाला जय गोपाल। हो जय नंदलाला जय गोपाला जय नंदलाला जय गोप। मोर मुकुट शिर गल बन माला केसर तिलक लगाए। केसर तिलक लगाए, मोर मुकुट सिर गल बनमाला, केसर तिलक लगाए, केसर तिलक लगाए। वृंदावन की कुंज गली में सबको नाच नचाए, वृंदावन की कुंज गली में सबको नाच नचाए। श्री राधे गोविंदा मन भजले हरि का प्यारा नाम, एक साथ श्री राधे गोविंदा मन भजले हरि का प्यारा नाम है। गोपाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है, नंदलाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है। गोपाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है, नंदलाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है। यमुना किनारे धेनु चरावे, माधव मदन मुरारी, माधव मदन मुरारी। यमुना किनारे धेनु चरावे, माधव मदन मुरारी, माधव मदन मुरारी। ओ मधुर मुरलिया जबी बजाए, हर ले सुध बुध सारी, मधुर मुरलिया जबी बजावे, हर ले सुध बुध सारी। श्री राधे गोविंद बोलो बोलो, मन भजले हरि का प्यारा नाम है। श्री राधे गोविंदा मन भजले हरि का प्यारा नाम है। गोपाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है, नंदलाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है। गोपाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है। हो गिरधर नागर कहती मीरा, सूर को श्यामल भाया, सूर को श्यामल भाया। गिरधर नागर कहती मीरा, सूर को श्यामल भाया, सूर को श्यामल भाया। हो तुकाराम और नामदेव ने विठ्ठल विठ्ठल गाया, हो तुकाराम और नामदेव ने विठ्ठल विठ्ठल गाया। श्री राधे एक साथ हाँ मन भजले हरि का प्यारा नाम है। श्री राधे गोविंदा मन भजले हरि का प्यारा नाम है। गोपाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है, नंदलाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है। गोपाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है, नंदलाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है। राधे गोविंदा मन भजले हरि का प्यारा नाम है। श्री ओ नरसी ने खड़ताल बजा के सावरिया को रिझाया, सावरिया को रिझाया। नरसी ने खड़ताल बजा सावरिया को रिझाया, सावरिया को रिझाया। शबरी ने अपने हाथों से प्रभु को बेर खिलाया, शबरी ने अपने हाथों से प्रभु को बेर खिलाया। श्री राधे गोविंद बोलो बोलो, नाम है श्री राधे गोविंदा मन भजले हरि का प्यारा नाम है। जय नंद लाला जय गोपाला, हो 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 जय नंद लाला जय गोपाला, नंद लाला जय गोपाला, जय नंद लाला जय गोपाला, हो जय नंद लाला जय गोपाला, लाला जय गोपाल, हो जय नंद लाला जय गोपाला, हो जय नंद लाला जय गोपाला, जय गोपाला, जय नंद लाला जय गोपाला, हो जय नंद लाला जय गोपाला, जय नंद लाला जय गोपाला, जय नंद लाला जय, कौन एवरीवन, लाला जय गोपाला, जय नंद लाला जय, एक साथ नंद लाला जय गोपाला, जय नंद लाला जय गोपाल, जय नंद लाला जय गोपाला, जय नंद लाला जय गोपाल, जय नंद लाला जय गोपाला, जय नंद लाला जय गोपाल, हो जय नंद लाला जय गोपाला, जय नंद लाला जय गोपाल। हो राधा शक्ति बिना न कोई श्यामल दर्शन पाए, श्यामल दर्शन पाए, राधा शक्ति बिना न कोई श्यामल दर्शन पाए, श्यामल दर्शन पाए। हो आराधन कर राधे राधे काना भागे आए, आराधन कर राधे राधे काना भागे आए। श्री राधे गोविंदा मन भजले हरि का प्यारा नाम है, श्री राधे गोविंदा मन भजले हरि का प्यारा नाम है। गोपाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है, नंदलाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है, गोपाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है, नंदलाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है। हो जय नंदलाला जय गोपाला, जय नंदलाला जय गोपाल, जय नंदलाला जय गोपाला, जय नंदलाला जय गोपाल, जय नंदलाला जय गोपाला, जय नंदलाला जय गो। हो जय नंदलाला जय गोपाला, जय नंदलाला जय गो। हो जय नंदलाला जय गोपाला, हो जय नंदलाला जय गोपाला, जय गोपाल। हो जय नंदलाला जय गोपाला, हो जय नंदलाला जय गोपाला, नंदलाला जय गोपाल। हो जय नंदलाला जय गोपाला, हो जय नंदलाला जय गोपाला, नंदलाला जय गोपाला, जय नंदलाला जय गोपाला। हो जय नंदलाला जय गोपाला, जय नंदलाला जय गोपाला, जय नंदलाला जय गोपाला, जय नंदलाला जय गोपाला। प्रभु ये माइक्रोफोन
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Iti Namani Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paskatya Dasatarine Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Shri Radha Nilamadhava ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Gaura Premanande, Haribo, Haribo, Haribo. Maya Shakta Manakparta Yogam Yunjam Madasraya. Asamsayam Samagramam Yatagyasyasi Tachshinu. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Hey Arjuna, now hear from me, O son of Pritha, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt. So this is the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, first verse. And the title of this chapter is called Knowledge of the Absolute. Now this should be our purpose in life. To understand who we are, we have to first understand who God is. Otherwise, we'll never really know who we are. We all come from God, or Krishna. So, to understand who we really are, we have to understand who God is. People understand who they are through relationships with other people. If you live in a, let's say, a vacuum where there's no relationships with anyone else, you would have doubts about who you are and what the purpose of life is. So the most important person who can help us to understand who we are and what we're supposed to do in life is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This has been known since time immemorial. It's only in modern times that this is obscured. What do I mean? Obscured means something that's hidden, that's not clearly understood. Well, it's because of atheistic philosophies that have become very prominent in the modern age. And because of that, people don't believe there is God. So if you don't believe there is a God, you can never really understand who you are. It's just like if you don't know who your mother is or who your father is, you'll be confused the rest of your life, trying to find out who they are, because you won't be able to find out what is the origin of your birth and who brought you into this world and who nurtured you to grow up, etc. The whole thing becomes confusing if you don't know who your father is, or father and mother. So, this 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita says, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Now, Arjuna, hear. How, by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt." Well, this is a message that Krishna is giving Arjuna, but actually he's speaking to all of us. Unless we know who God is, and unless we can focus our mind on pleasing God through our thoughts and actions, we'll never be free of doubt. It's just like a child that's born, and right away the mother, the father leaves, and the mother gives the child to be in a orphanage. So as the child gets older, the child doesn't know where their parents are. And as they get older and older, it becomes a mystery. And they try to find out. Oftentimes, the parents that abandon the child don't want to have anything to do with the child. So, but the child, as the child grows older, does everything possible to find who their mother is and who their father is. It's normal instinct. So in the same way, we should have that same, let's say, research in our mind to find out where we came from. Because if you find out where you came from, then you'll know where you want to go. You want to go back to that original place where you came from. So this is explained in Bhagavad Gita, that we all come originally from Krishna, and Krishna's abode is Vaikuntha, the spiritual world where there's no birth, death, old age, and disease, and where we can always be in the service of the Lord. We relate to God or Krishna through service. Just like if you like someone, you naturally want to serve them. And the best person to serve is Krishna himself. So there was once a young boy. His mother and father unfortunately died when he was still very young. And he was, sort of adopted. He had a difficult life. And he was always trying to figure out, what he should do in life, since he didn't have mother and father. Well, there were some relatives that helped him, but it was always in the back of his mind, where is my mother? Who is my mother? Who is my father? So as he got older, he thought, I have to find out where my original mother is and my father. So he began a research. But it was very difficult because the mother and father, they were separated also. And they were not living a good life. The father was in jail. He was like some kind of a criminal. And the mother was not living a good life either. She was a drug addict. So it was very difficult for him to find out. And then when he did find out, at least who his mother was, she didn't want to have anything to do with him. She was intoxicated all the time. And that was very, hurtful for the boy. He was not a boy anymore. He was in his like 20s. And then when he found out his father, the father didn't want to have anything to do with him. So here we have a serious, let's say, rejection in this boy's life. Of course, he had some relative that raised him. He wasn't in the street or anything like that. He did get an education. But it hurt him, the fact that his real mother and his real father were not interested in him at all. So, ultimately, we have to understand that our real mother and father is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He'll never forsake us, and we all come from him originally. The physical body, yes, that may be coming from material mother and father, but the soul that animates the body with consciousness and life, that's coming from Krishna. We're all part and parcel of Krishna. So unless we learn who is our real origin, our real father and mother, we can often become confused in life and not really know, who am I? If we identify, like for example, I had a sister-in-law, and for the last 15 years of her life, she was always had a oxygen tank that was rolling. It was on some contraption so that she could roll it on the ground, and everywhere she went, she had these tubes coming up to her nostrils, and she had to breathe the oxygen. Now, why did she have that? Well, because her lungs were almost completely destroyed by smoking. So I asked her once, I said, Mary, I said, why did you smoke? And when did you start smoking? She said, well, when I was a young girl, I was going to the movies, and I saw a movie with Marlon Brando, and he was smoking a cigarette, and it looked so cool. And from that point on, I decided that I would smoke also. Well, I'm for sure that the actor who was a famous actor, made movies. He was paid by the cigarette companies to smoke those cigarettes in the movie, and so she thought it was something that she should do also, and not understanding the dangers of smoking, she became a smoker, and after 20, 30, 40 years of smoking, it ruined her lungs, and she had to have an oxygen tank with tubes connected to her nostrils so that she could breathe. And that was until she died. For at least 20 years it was like that. So here we see many people make decisions that are very bad out of ignorance, and because of that they have to suffer the rest of their life. Now, what is ignorance? Ignorance means you do something that actually is not in any way beneficial for you, but you think it is because of publicity, because of peer pressure, because of so many different causes, and you take up a bad habit, and eventually you suffer the rest of your life because of that mistake that you made. Even though on every pack of cigarettes it clearly says that the Surgeon General of the United States says that if you smoke, you have a very good chance of getting cancer. Don't they have that on a cigarette package? Yeah. Even though they put it on a cigarette package, still people buy cigarettes and smoke them. And they have to ask a question. Why is it that people do that, even though they're being warned? Every pack of cigarettes says that. I don't know if anybody has a pack of cigarettes here. We could verify what I'm saying is right. But yeah, well, this is something that you have to ask yourself. Why is it that people would do something knowingly that the habit is bad, but still they do it? Now, it's not only smoking. It's going to be gambling. It can be philandering, trying to have illicit sex. It can be eating meat. What shocks me a lot is when I go to the supermarket to buy some things. Of course, I like to buy vegetables and sattvic foods as much as possible. And I see somebody at the checkout counter, and they're Indian, and they have meat in their basket. And I look at it, and I'm thinking to myself, I know who this person is. They're Hindus, but they're buying meat. So how can they say that they're Hindu? That's completely a violation of Hindu Dharma. Meat eating. Then I remember one time I had a very good friend who was a Jain. Jains are usually very, they try and live a sattvic life. But they also make mistakes. So this one gentleman who was a Jain, I saw him one time drinking champagne. And I was thinking to myself, this doesn't make sense, He's a Jain and he's smoking and he's drinking champagne. So we see that sometimes people become so, what you would say, irresponsible that they take up habits. Like I remember once I was invited to the marriage of, and it was the son of one of our devotee families. And during the marriage, there was a toast. Now, I'm not talking about toast bread now. I'm talking about toast, right? and everyone got a certain glass, and I think it was champagne or something. And father and mother, both were devotees. They picked up the champagne glasses and they toasted and they drank the champagne. I was looking, I was like surprised, how is this possible? Well, it's possible when you could call it sometimes peer pressure, or you could call it just ignorance or whimsicalness. People make mistakes. They violate the principles of Dharma. Now, Dharma means the laws given to us by God by which we should organize our activities in life. And why? It's to protect us from unnecessary suffering. But when we break those laws, there's going to be consequences. Right? Just like if you're driving in 35 miles an hour zone and you're going 85 miles an hour, you're going to be stopped by the policeman and he's going to give you a ticket. So there are consequences when we don't follow the rules. In fact, it's much easier to follow the rules than to break the rules. Because if you follow the rules, you have nothing to worry about. But if you break the rules, well, you always have a chance of being caught, and there's going to be consequences. Just like, let's say you're driving 50 miles an hour in a 35 mile an hour zone. When the policeman stops you, you say, "Sir, I don't understand. Why did you stop me?" And he said, "Well, I stopped you because you were going 50 miles an hour in a 35 mile an hour." "Oh, no, that was only for a few seconds. That my foot slipped on the." He said, "That's okay. I saw you, and I got it on my radar. So don't talk nonsense. You're gonna, pay the ticket." So it's much easier in life to follow the rules than to break them, and it's the same thing. Well, what we don't realize is there's two sets of rules that we have to follow. One set of rules are the rules of the state. Just like the state of Washington, it has certain rules. We have to follow them. There's another set of rules that we also have to follow, and those are called Dharma, the rules given to us by God or Krishna. We have to follow those also. So now we have two sets of rules that we're obliged to follow. And if we violate the state of Washington's rules, there's consequences. And if we violate Krishna's rules, there's also consequences. So therefore, real education is not just knowing the rules of the state, it's knowing the rules that are given to us by Krishna and the Sanatana Dharma. Then we have a genuinely peaceful life. Otherwise, is ignorance an excuse? No. You can say, "Oh, well, nobody taught me, that I shouldn't eat meat. In fact, they taught me that I should eat meat." Well, I was taught when I was a kid that I should eat meat. I have to admit it. My parents were not devotees. But as soon as I found out by devotees that I shouldn't eat meat, I stopped. Right? So there is the excuse that I didn't know. Okay, that's a genuine excuse. But if you know and you still do it, there's no excuse for that. So we need to be very serious about hearing not only the rules of the state, but also the rules given to us, or Dharma, which are the rules given to us by Krishna, how to live this life. Therefore, these are decisions that we have to make. Like I was born in a family where we ate meat. I didn't know it was bad. I was a Christian, but no one, the priest never said, don't eat meat, you're eating the flesh of a living being. No, they never said anything like that. In fact, the priest said, give me another piece of meat. They were doing shish kebab, And so it's only when I came in touch with the Hare Krishna people that I learned that you shouldn't eat meat. So once you do know, then there's no excuse after that. And that means you might say, well, I didn't know. No one ever told me. Okay, but from the moment that you know what the truth is, then you have to follow it. And if you don't, there's no excuse. And we're going to be punished for that. We're going to be punished anyway, but the punishment is less severe when you genuinely didn't know than when you know and you do it anyway. Then you get the full, karma. So we need to always seek out real knowledge. Just like, let's say you're sick and you go to the doctor, and the doctor says, well, I'm not exactly sure. It might be cancer, it might not be cancer. You say, well, doctor, can't you tell me for sure? He said, well, we need to do a biopsy. That'll take, maybe 1 month to get the results. And you say, well, doctor, if it is cancer, I might be dead in a month. He said, well, I can't help that. Right? So you sort of get stuck in the system. So then the guy says, okay, well, let's assume that I do have cancer, even though I may not. But can you start treating me right now for cancer, so that once you get the real facts, if it's not cancer, okay, and if it is cancer, at least I started taking the medicine now, right away, instead of waiting a month or 2 months to find out that I have it. Well, that's an intelligent thing, but does the doctor say that to you? No, they don't say that. So you could wait 1 or 2 months to get the final answer. Do you or do you not have cancer? So, in other words, will you die taking the cancer medication, not knowing whether you have it, but being, there's a possibility that you have it. Well, you can do that as a preventive. Now, that depends also on the medicine. Some of these medicines can give you more harm than good. So, but the main point is having real knowledge is important. And that real knowledge, the sooner we have it, is better. So, therefore, 5,000 years ago, not 5 years ago, not 500 years ago, but 5,000 years ago, Krishna said in the Bhagavad Gita, don't eat meat, don't gamble, don't have illicit sex, and don't take any intoxicants, including coffee and tea. Wow, now we don't have an excuse saying, well, I didn't know, because it was stated already 5,000 years ago by Krishna to Arjuna. Now, someone might say, well, I was born a Christian and we didn't know this, and so forth. Okay, that's some kind of an excuse that, can be accepted. But now you know. Now what are you going to do? So these are the questions that we have to ask ourselves. Am I doing the right thing or the wrong thing? So just like if you don't teach your children to make the right decision in life, like for example, my father was a chain smoker. He would smoke one cigarette after another. He'd smoke 4 packets of Chesterfield cigarettes a day. And he got lung cancer, and then he suffered terribly and died. So, although I did smoke a little bit when I was a teenager, I decided when I saw the way he died, I said, I'm not going to smoke. Because I saw what the result, what happens when you smoke. Our lungs are not meant to be filled with smoke. Our lungs are meant to, be filled with the air, not smoke. And so eventually, you can learn things. Either the best way to learn is by hearing. The second way of learning is by hearing and seeing. The third way of learning is hearing, seeing, but doing. And the fourth way is hearing, seeing, doing, and not stopping. And continue to do, you see. So that's the worst type of ignorance. So we should learn by hearing from authorities. Therefore, when someone comes here to the temple and they say, what are your rules? Right away we say, well, there are 4 things you should never do: meat eating, gambling, illicit sex, and intoxication, including coffee and tea. They said, whoa, that's a little too much. How about if I follow 3 of those things? I said, well, you can, but you won't be successful. You have to, because even if you only do 1 of those things, it'll lead you gradually to do all 4 of those things. So that's what happens. It's just like someone, a young kid, he gets convinced by peer pressure of his friends to smoke, right? And then now he's smoking, and then they give him more peer pressure to smoke marijuana. Now, not only is smoking cigarettes, but he's smoking marijuana. So, one thing leads to another thing, leads to another thing. Now they're eating meat, now they're gambling, now they're having illicit sex, now they're doing this, now they're doing that. One bad habit will always lead to other bad habits. It's like a cascade of downward spiral. So we need to have knowledge by which to say no. Saying no is more important often today than saying yes. People think, well, it's a positive thing to be yes, yes, yes. No, it's not a positive thing to say yes to everything, because many of those things that we're faced with today are no-nos. They're not good. Just like there was a time where women were told to take this certain medication for some kind of a woman's disease, right? Then they found out that it causes cancer, but damage was already done. Women were diagnosed with a certain condition, and the medicine that they were given was actually causing cancer. And a lot of women died prematurely because of that mistake made by the doctors. And by the way, for your information, every year there's between 100 to 150,000 American citizens that die due to medical mistakes. Just like I had a friend, he called me up one day. He said, Prabhu, he said, I need your advice. I said, okay, what is it? He said, I went to the doctor and he said, I have cancer and that I should get an operation right away. What should I do? I said, well, first of all, I said, buy a ticket. So you're in Seattle, so buy a ticket and go as far away in the United States as possible from Seattle. So let's say you go to Florida. Go to Florida, then look up in the yellow pages, doctors, and then choose one doctor and tell him you want a full checkup. And if he says, well, do you have your medical history? You tell him, no, I need a full checkup. All right. So he said, okay. So he bought a ticket, went all the way to Florida, looked up a doctor in Florida, and he asked to have a full checkup. It took I think 3-4 weeks to get all the information after all the tests they did. And he said, "Well, doc, how am I?" He said, "Well, you've got perfect health." He said, "You're like an 18-year-old boy." He said, "Really? I don't have cancer or anything?" No, you don't have any cancer. So he called me. He said, "Prabhu, you saved my life." That other doctor here in Seattle, he said I had cancer, and he wanted an operation right away. By the way, that's the way they make money. They don't make money by saying take an aspirin. They make money by operation, right? Srila Prabhupada had a servant that he didn't pay much money to, and his name was Buddhu. Buddhu means what? What does it mean in dumb, right? That was his name. So one day Prabhupada asked him, I said, "Buddhu," he said, "I don't pay you much money." He said, "How come you're so strong?" He said, "Yeah, I eat chana. I buy chana powder. It's very cheap," he said. "And I make a sandwich with it, and that's what I eat. That's what keeps me strong." So Prabhupada was impressed by Buddha. So one day, Buddha comes to work, but he says, "Oh, I'm not feeling very well." He said, "Really? Okay, I'll take you to the doctor." So Prabhupada takes him to the doctor. And then Prabhupada had some kind of thing that he had to do somewhere else. So he said, "Buddha, you stay here until the doctor says, does his testing on you." So Prabhupada went away. Then later on in the day, he saw Buddha, came back to where Prabhupada was. And he said, "What happened, Buddha?" He said, "Doctor did this, did that." And then he said something about an operation. So when he wasn't looking, I ran out of the door and I came back. Well, okay, there are certain times when operations is necessary, but in the case of Buddha, he made the right decision. See? Just like in the case of my friend who asked me, he said, "Look, the doctor here in Seattle, he did the test on me and said I had the operation. What should I do?" I said, "Well, get a ticket to Florida, that's far away from here. Go see a doctor and tell him you want a full checkup." He did it, and the doctor told me you're in perfect health. Well, that's and he called me up. He said, "Prabhu, you saved my life." He said that doctor in Seattle, he told me I had to have operation, but the other doctor I saw, he said you're in perfect health. So these are things that happen a lot, and like I said, in America, up to between 100 to 150,000 people die every year by medical mistakes. And they don't get sued because they have a lot of insurance and a lot of protection. So you have to be very careful. Always get second and third opinions. Or as they say in English, look before you leap, because you might make a mistake. So the biggest mistake we can make is to violate the principles of Dharma. And like I said, there are two sets of rules in life. There are the rules given by the state and the rules and regulations, or Dharma. Dharma means rules and regulations given by God. So we have to follow both sets. And if you follow both sets of rules, you will avoid a lot of problems. If you just follow the rules of the material world and avoid the rules set down by Krishna, you're making a big mistake. You're going to have a lot of problems in life. So we got to get serious about how we go through all the different situations of life that we're faced with. Best thing is, when in doubt, get advice from people you trust. When in doubt, get advice from people you trust. Just like when my friend asked me, he said, I went to see this doctor. He says, I have to have an operation. What should I do? I said, well, buy a ticket and go far away. Go to Florida. Find some doctor, any doctor. Let him do a full examination of you. And he did it. He found, and that doctor said, there's nothing wrong with you. So getting that second or third opinion is very important before you make big decisions. Now, we have to make those decisions all the time in our life. And this is something that confuses people, because all the time we're faced with, should I do this or should I do that? Right? Should I marry this person or should I marry that person? Should I buy this car or should I buy that car? Should I take this medicine or should I take that medicine? Should I live in the United States or should I move back to India? You know, all these questions come up in the mind, and just like one person came to me, he was a devotee, initiated devotee, and he said, Prabhu, I'm sorry to say I have to leave Seattle. I said, why? He said, well, I lost my job, and now it's 3 months I'm looking for another job. I can't find one, and I'm going to have to move. I probably have to go to Alabama or someplace like that to get a job. He said, what should I do? I said, don't leave. He said, yeah, but I've been looking, I couldn't find a job. I said, that's okay. If your desire is to stay here to be Krishna conscious, because it's easy for you to be Krishna conscious here, and this is where you got introduced to Krishna consciousness. Now you just pray to Krishna. Don't ask him for anything. Just pray to Krishna, and he'll protect you. He said, okay, but already 3 months I've been looking for a job. I said, okay, you just keep looking for a job, and just depend on Krishna. Well, a couple weeks later, he got a job. He didn't have to move away. Then another person came to me, his wife came to me, and her husband had just been laid off from some big company. And he came also with the wife, and she said, Prabhu, my husband was laid off at his job. He's working at Boeing. What should he do? I said, well, I'm not sure that I don't know. I said, I can't predict what's going to happen, but I can tell you what I do. And she said, well, what's that? I chant Hare Krishna. So I had the husband repeat after me, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And I looked at the husband. I said, look, you just keep repeating this. He said, but how's that going to get me a job? I said, please take my advice, chant Hare Krishna, and we'll see. So I didn't see that lady. She comes to the temple every once in a while. But a couple months later, I met her again. And I said, how's your husband? She said, oh, he got a job. Oh, I said, that's good. Is he still chanting? She said, no, he stopped chanting. Well, I mean, I didn't say anything, but now, did he get a job because he chanted Hare Krishna? Well, there's a good chance that that's a fact, right? Because he did get the job, right? But as soon as he got the job, he stopped chanting Hare Krishna. So, is chanting Hare Krishna meant to help you get a job? No, it's not. But it is beneficial in every way, whether you get a job or not, to chant Hare Krishna, because you're chanting the names of God. And because God is present in your heart, He's hearing you chant. See, now, let's say you don't chant Hare Krishna, but you like to gossip. Talking nonsense all the time. Now, does that please Krishna? No. It doesn't please Krishna at all. But if you're always chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna is, is hearing his name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare. He likes that. He likes that. And because he likes that, he gives you many benefits, such as giving you the intelligence to make the right decisions in your life, and so forth. So, Prabhupada has said, in fact, I listened to a lecture today in which he said it also, I say this all the time, you can never be a loser in Krishna consciousness. And actually, Prabhupada used those words, you can never be a loser in Krishna consciousness. Because if you chant the names of Krishna always, Krishna is in your heart. He hears it. And he's very pleased. And he'll do everything to help you lead a simple Krishna conscious life and go back to Godhead. Many people are hearing us, right? Like you might be sitting on a bus and talking to someone, and someone might be sitting behind you listening to what you're saying. But many people listen to what we say. The birds are listening, the ants are listening, Krishna is listening, and so you see, as soon as you say something, it goes into the ether, and it's carried all over the world, all over the universe, right? Sound emanates like that. It's just like you throw a stone into a lake, and it makes a little circle, and then that circle gets getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, like that. If you never did it, you can experiment. You get a rock, you throw it into the lake, and you'll see it makes this big cascading circle. So the same way, everything we say is going to vibrate through the whole universe, not just around yourself, but it'll just keep vibrating. And if it's nonsense, you lose the benefit of being able to speak correctly. And it brings about inauspiciousness in one's life. I remember one time, as I was getting older, I was like, 10, 12, but by the time I got to be like 16, 18, when there was some discussion going on in the family, I remember when I think I was like 18, and there was a discussion going on between my auntie and my mother, and there was some problem. And I interjected into the discussion, and I gave it some advice to my auntie, and my mother and my auntie both looked at me, because usually you don't give advice to your elders, but I gave some advice, and it was good advice. But anyway, they were surprised. Well, what do you expect? I'm sitting there listening to them talk, and I understood what my auntie was saying, or what she did. It was nonsense what she did. So I didn't say it in a brutal way, but I said I think that's wrong. So there's always somebody. There's always a witness. There's always somebody listening. And if you think no one is listening to what you're saying, that's not true, because Krishna is in your heart. Ultimately, Krishna is listening to everything we say, and he knows about everything we think. So we have to be very careful what we think and what we say, because Krishna is there right in the heart. He's the closest person to us. So if we're always saying nice things about Krishna and chanting his holy names, then Krishna is very pleased. Just like if there's someone always speaking nicely about you, you would probably want to know who that person is. And someone says, oh, there's this gentleman in Seattle, he says he knows you, and he spoke very highly of you. You say, really? Who's that? And he gives you the name of a person, and so you want to know who that person is. So Krishna is the closest person to us. It's in our heart. So if we speak nicely about Krishna and he's going to hear it, hey, that's a big plus for you in this lifetime. Because if Krishna is pleased by what you're saying and thinking, of course Krishna knows what you're thinking also because it's in your heart, then you'll be benefited tremendously. So now, let's say I go to the high school here and I give the same explanation, a lot of the kids are not going to believe it. Why? Because many of them don't believe in God anymore. Now, how is that? Well, it's because of modern education. There are two things kids learn when they go to school. One, there is no God because we have no scientific proof that God exists. That's what the teachers say. I remember one time my daughter, one of my kids, came home and she said, "Dad, is there God?" I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Well, I told the teacher that there's God." And the teacher said, "Well, that's, what you think, but we don't talk about God in the class because there's no proof that he exists." And that confused my daughter. And then I had to explain to her, I said, "Look, you're going to meet people in this world that don't believe that God exists. In fact, there are a lot of people like that, including teachers. And you don't have to get into an argument with those people, but you have to understand that they are less intelligent. They haven't had good association in their life. The worst association in the world is in school. That's where they teach you there's no God. When you die, there's nothing. You only live once. They teach you these things right in the school, right? Maybe if you go to a religious school, they might not teach that. But in public schools, they definitely teach that, right? So, and I had to explain to her, like not everybody believes in God, but we know Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So you don't have to get into an argument with those people that don't believe in God. In fact, it should give you more incentive to believe in God, to believe that there is a Supreme Creator, and He's the one that's controlling the beating of your heart, the sun rising every day, and all the miraculous things that are going on, how you digest food, how a mother can make the body of a whole child in her womb, even though she doesn't know how to do it or how it's happening, but it's happening in her womb. There are many mysteries, and because these mysteries are being experienced every day, that means there's somebody else controlling them. Not you, not me, not Joe Biden, not this one, not that one. It's Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, so once we understand that, then we take up Krishna consciousness seriously. Because if you don't know who God is, when you come to the temple, Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. When you come to the temple, we tell you who God is. And if you don't know who God is and you're trying to find out who He is, we tell you it's Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You don't have to research anymore, or if you gave up your research 10 years ago, that's okay. Now you know who He is. It's Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And if you want to see Him, you just come to the temple. You can see Him. He's right there on the altar. You can. Anyone says to you, "Well, I never saw God." You say, "Oh well, come to our temple, you'll see God." right? Every time we have our darshan. So here we see that there are two opinions. One opinion is there's no God, and the other opinion that there is God. Now, if you believe that there is God, and when you die, God greets you and thanks you for believing in Him, and now you have eternal life. So, you led a good life, and now you died, but now you're going for eternal life in the spiritual world. And if you don't believe in God, and you believe in all the good things of life, meat eating, gambling, illicit sex, intoxication, all these so-called good things. One time I was speaking to this man, and he said, well, what are your rules? And I said, well, it's pretty simple. No meat eating, no gambling, no illicit sex, no intoxication. He said, hold it. Those are the only things that give me happiness in life. I said, no, there are many other things that can give you happiness in life. No, but those are the ones that give me happiness. If I give those things, I may as well commit suicide. So that's what you call a bankrupt person. He's bankrupt. He doesn't really understand what's good and what's bad. He doesn't have any knowledge. So we need to associate with people who have knowledge. So when you come here, right away we tell you that Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. You don't have to guess about that. And we also tell you that Krishna is in your heart. So therefore, He's hearing and seeing everything we do. Let's say you go home and then you go up to your bedroom, you lock the door, you close all the windows and curtains, turn the lights off, and say, now no one can see me. It's not true. Krishna is in the heart. He's seeing everything you're doing. He's hearing everything you're saying. So there's no question of privacy. Everything is, written down in the book of Yamaraj. Yamaraj, there's one time Prabhupada said that if you're a member of the governing body commission of ISKCON, I'm a member. I'm a governing body commissioner also of ISKCON. It's called GBC. We're like the leaders of the movement. He said, but Krishna has his GBC. And someone asked, well, who's that? He said, Yamaraj. He said, if you misbehave, you're going to come under the, jurisdiction of Yamaraj, because that's his GBC. GBC means that he's the governing commissioner of Krishna to make sure that people are doing the right thing. Well, in this case, the big so-called leaders of the movement are doing the right thing. Otherwise, he'll punish you. And the punishment for a big leader is worse than the punishment of the ordinary person. Because leaders are given the responsibility to lead people in the right way. And if they mislead people, that is a violation of trust. That's the worst thing that can happen in a person's life, where you trust someone and later on you find out that they're a nonsense person and everything they told you to do, but they themselves were not actually following. That's like the worst thing, when you find out that someone you trusted has actually turned out to be a rogue or a bad person. So it's very important to understand someone who's good and someone who is not good. One easy way to understand that is when a person sits down to eat, just look what they have in their dish. And if you see a piece of dead meat, then you know that they're not really a good person. They may be well dressed, they may speak very well, they may be well educated, but they cannot be good if they're eating meat. No matter how intelligent they are, no matter how many PhDs they have, it's a big no-no, because they're eating the flesh of an animal that has been killed against its will. Now, how do we know that? Well, you can do an experiment. You go to a chicken farm and you get a knife and you sort of point it at one of the chickens. And the chicken goes, "Bawk, bawk, 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 bawk," and they start running away from you. Now, that's exactly what you would do if you're walking down the street in Seattle and some guy walks behind you with a big knife. What would you do? Well, you would start walking faster, and if he keeps walking faster too, you start running, and if he starts running also, then you run faster and start screaming, help. See, well, that's what the chicken is doing. So you see why? Because chicken is not crazy. Chicken can also understand that you're going to kill him. So this self-preservation is the first law of material nature. It's not the law of spiritual nature, but it's the first law of material nature, because people don't want to die. Spiritual nature, well, devotees understand. I have an eternal soul. I'm not going to die. I will change my body, yes, just like I change my clothes every day. That doesn't mean my life is finished because I change clothes. And when you change bodies, that doesn't mean you're dead. But of course, you have to have knowledge to understand that. That's called Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is the only book you need to read. You don't really need to read any other book to have all knowledge. And it's a short book. It's not a big, long encyclopedia. Sometimes people think, oh, if I want to have knowledge, I should buy the Encyclopedia Britannica. It costs like, $2,000, $3,000, and it's like 18, 20, 30 volumes like that for knowledge. But you just have one book called Bhagavad Gita, and that's it. The rest of your life, if you just speak from Bhagavad Gita, you're the most intelligent person, and you will make the right decisions in life, and people will have a lot of respect for you because you're giving them good information. So Bhagavad Gita is always there in this temple, because that's Krishna explaining who he is. If you want to know who Krishna is, you read Bhagavad Gita. And who's explaining who Krishna is? Krishna himself in Bhagavad Gita. So no one else can give you more valid truth than Krishna himself. And it's in the Bhagavad Gita, and he's speaking to Arjuna, his devotee. And he's saying to Arjuna, I'm explaining to you this most secret of all secrets. Why? Because you are my devotee, you're my friend, and you're not envious of me. These are 3 qualifications to be spoken to directly by Krishna. Not to be envious of him, and not to be, let's say, in other words, be a friend, not be envious, and be a devotee. Then Krishna will speak to you. He'll trust you. And he knows whether you're honest or dishonest. So we need to read Bhagavad Gita and then follow the example of Arjuna. Arjuna was confused. Arjuna was not following Krishna's advice, but he made the right decision in saying, look, I don't really understand. I'm confused, he said. But you please be my guru, and you explain to me what I should do. And then from that point on, there was no more, should I do this, should I do that, and just discussion. Now Krishna began to speak Atma Tattva, the truth about the soul. That's the beginning of real knowledge, when we learn the truth about the soul. Because everyone is ignorant about their soul, ignorant that they have an eternal existence with an eternal body. but it's covered right now by the material body. It's just like, just recently they discovered a famous painting that was hidden, and there was another painting on top of it. And after many, many years, this painting that was made in the 15th century, recently they discovered that there was a painting underneath it. There was a very famous painting that had been lost over time, but it was hidden so that, I don't know, maybe some people stole it or whatever. So, in the same way, we have a material body, but it's covering our soul, which is eternal. The material body is not eternal, it's temporary. So we're what you would say flummoxed or confused, and we identify with the temporary material body and we ignore the existence of our eternal soul. So we need to have a wake-up call. A wake-up call. It's just like you get a letter from the IRS, Internal Revenue Service, and in that letter it says that you owe them $50,000. That's a wake-up call. Right? You say, what? How's this possible? I thought I paid my taxes, you know. So then you have to contact the IRS, and they explain to you, you didn't send your IRS, let's say payments to the right address, or this thing or that thing, and therefore, you owe $50,000. So that's called a wake-up call. You wake up, and you suddenly realize I made some mistakes. So we need to be very conscious about all the decisions that we make in our life, and when in doubt, ask someone who's an expert and get a better opinion, or an opinion from a qualified person. Just like many times people ask for my opinion about something. Now I tell them, look, don't ask me what the stock market is going to do on Monday. I don't know. So don't ask questions like that. But if you ask me, how can I improve my spiritual life, I can explain that to you. I said, don't ask me things that are for mundane benefit, but ask me about something that will help your spiritual life, then I can give you good advice. So that's what we should ask. How to advance in spiritual life. That should be our main question in life. Okay, I'm going to stop there. If you have any questions or comments, you can say it right now. Yes. Wait a minute. What did you say?
You mentioned that after we never die, we just change our clothes.
Change your body, right?
Yeah. So in this regarding, my question is that if we die in any car accident, now suppose that as a devotee we will not die, but in a Kali Yoga, if we will die any car accident or any shooter will shoot us, because our life is supposed that 80 years, but if we die during that time in 40, 50, 60, so then also we will suffer. My question first is this, and second is where we will go.
Wait a minute. I didn't understand the first question.
So then on that situation, 40 years, our soul will be suffered because our age is actual age is 80 years, but somebody shoot me and I died in 40 years, suppose that.
Wait a minute. Who shot you?
If someone wants to shoot, let's say some accident
This
happened,
is general probability, means in a Kali Yuga.
like in Kali Yuga, like you go to mall to.
Well, that means that you were destined to die at 40. It's not that, that was your karma. See, you don't look. Put it like, let me explain to you. When you're born, you don't know, you don't remember what you did in previous lives. But you can understand that it's going to be a mixed bag of good and bad. You can tell. Let's say when you're 10 years old, you have to have a serious heart operation. Well, it means there was some bad karma before, right? But you survived the operation, and now you get to be 25, and the doctor says you have high blood pressure. Okay, so now you have to take medication for high blood pressure, right? Then when you get to be 50, something else happens, right? So all these are reactions of karma for things that you did previously, right? Okay, so therefore you have to understand it's a mixed bag. There's some good things and there's some bad things. And you don't know what the bad things are until they happen. And you don't know what the good things are until they happen, right? So then the best thing to do is surrender completely to Krishna. Because Krishna will, let's say you were destined to die when you were 30 years old, but you became a devotee, and when you became 30, instead of dying, okay, one of your fingers was cut off, right? But you didn't die. So that means that Krishna, I mean, you still got some karmic reaction, but he lowered the degree of suffering. Right? Instead of dying, he lost a finger. Right? So what we have to do is, like before I was a devotee, I had bad karma, and I even though I wasn't an expert in karma, this thing, that thing, but still I realized, there were a lot of bad things happening to me. And then when I met the devotees, I heard something that was very interesting, and that was that when you become a devotee, especially when you get initiated, then your karma is put on hold so that you can engage in devotional service, and eventually your karma is eradicated completely. Whoa, that was really good news, because I didn't know how to stop these bad things that were happening to me. But then I understood if I become a devotee, then I'll have a much, let's say, more, let's say, happy life by taking up Krishna consciousness. And it happened. And many good things happened to me because I became a devotee. That would not have happened if I continued living the way I was. I probably wouldn't be alive today if I continued living the way I was. So, it is possible. See, karma is not eternal. The soul is eternal, and there are different things that are eternal. There's one thing that's not eternal, that is karma. It can change. And if we take up Krishna consciousness, it can completely change. And and instead of getting the full, let's say, reaction for our sins in the past, we get token reactions. So instead of dying, we may injure our arm or our leg or something like that. So we have to take into account that there is such a thing as karma, but karma is not eternal. And it's possible that karma can be put on hold or diminished so that you can become Krishna conscious. But you have to get the right advice from bona fide spiritual master and bona fide shastric knowledge. Then you have a chance of, let's say, escaping from bad karma. You don't know what your karma is until it actually happens. But one thing I can tell you, if you strictly follow Krishna consciousness, you'll be protected by Krishna. And many things that should have happened will not happen, or they'll be diminished so they they're not devastating, events in your life. Okay? So let's come back to what I said before, and what something Prabhupada says also. That you cannot be a loser in Krishna consciousness. You cannot be a loser. Whatever you do in Krishna consciousness becomes a positive asset that becomes eternal. So that means if you don't finish your Krishna conscious business in this lifetime, then in the next life, you're guaranteed a human birth in the next lifetime, and you start from the point that you left off in the previous life. That means you cannot be a loser in Krishna consciousness. It's planned in such a way that you will always be able to go forward to go back to Godhead. Even if you fail to go back to Godhead in this lifetime, you start from the point where you stopped in the previous lifetime. In the new lifetime, you start from that point. So you cannot be a loser in Krishna consciousness. Right? Now, why? So some people say, well, if that's a fact, then maybe I'll do a little bit now, and then I'll do a lot of nonsense, but then next life I'll start from where I stopped. That's not a good way of thinking, because you don't really know what kind of body you're going to have in the next life, and it's better to become serious in this lifetime and finish this business of eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, and become fully Krishna conscious. That doesn't mean you stop eating, sleeping, mating, or defending, but you follow the rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness, so you will not have adverse, adverse karma in the next life. So if you take Krishna consciousness seriously, you'll never regret it. You'll be very happy, and you will be protected by Krishna's mercy, and you have a great chance of going back to Godhead even in this lifetime. And if you don't, then you'll start from the point that you stopped in the last lifetime, and therefore you always go forward. You're never going to go backwards. The worst thing to do is to not believe this and to live a wanton life, a life of meat eating, gambling, illicit sex, intoxication, lying, cheating, all those things that people do nowadays. So follow Sanatan Dharma, then you will also become Sanatan. You'll become eternal. You are eternal, but you will not have repeated birth and death. This will be the last time you have to go through that process. And you can go back to Godhead in your spiritual, eternal body and be with Krishna and all the devotees, doing parikramas and festivals, and eating very nice prasadam. You can also eat in spiritual world. You do everything you do here, but without any downside to it. So if you don't want to eat, you don't have to eat, but if you want to eat, you eat very nice prasadam and so forth. But I can tell you this, there are no demons in the material world, in the spiritual world. So that's a big plus. Any other questions? Yes, sir. But that hand went up really fast. That was good.
Stock market investment considered gambling?
Well, what do you mean by investment? I mean,
If I'm investing in stocks and I'm expecting bigger returns from it, is that considered kind of gambling?
it's gambling if you're a day trader. That's gambling. Is you're making an investment and hoping that it goes up. That's okay. Nothing wrong with that. But if you're a day trader, trying to make money every day. So the day trading, the problem with that is that your mind is thinking always about making the money. You can't get your mind off of it. Whereas if you buy a stock and just keep it, forget about it, and then 10 years later, you look at it, it went up to, from $10 a stock to $10,000 a stock. Okay, fine, But you weren't thinking about it every day. But if you're a day trader, every day you're thinking about it, and you can't, you want to get the information. Now, the people that really make money in the stock market are the ones who have these very expensive machines that give them information. Like every second, they're getting information about the movement of the stock. Now, in previous times, they didn't have all these computers and everything. Let's say you go back to 18th century, 19th century, they had stock market also, but they couldn't get information instantly. Right? Now you can get it instantly, every couple of years it gets faster and faster, right? That means that you can't get your mind off of it, and the quicker you are, the better chance you have of making money in the stock market, right? I mean, making the right decisions. So it's a type of Maya, and you can't really focus on Krishna consciousness. You don't have any time because everything is related to how fast you can make a decision about a stock. Right? So, yeah, it's better not to trade in the stock market. Or if you trade not being, one of these people that's looking at it every second to see whether it went up, down, people get panicked, and then they get sick, and then it lowers your lifespan because that's not a way of living. Right? So let's say you're Krishna conscious completely. So you're not worried about whether the stock comes up or down because you don't have any stocks. Your stocks are, this is your stock right here. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. See, your stock is not, not, Elon Musk's company or this company or that company. This is your stock. It's Krishna consciousness, right? So yeah, you have to make decisions in your life that help you live a better life, not help you get sick and paranoia and other things. Because I know this one man. He I forget his name, but if you'll recognize who it is if the explanation. He did very well in the stock market in London. Then he moved into the United States, and he did very well also. But then he kept buying stocks on margin. In other words, he only put up 5% in cash, and the other 95%. You're not worried because the stock is going to go up, and you're going to make money without putting all your money in it. But if the stock goes down, then the stock company, not the stock company, but your stock broker, they'll ask you to pay up the money. You only put up 5%, right? So that's the way you can go bankrupt very easily. So that's what happened to this one Indian guy. So what did he do? He committed suicide. Because one day he had a big portfolio. There was a crash on the market. He only had these 5% stock options. He went completely bankrupt. He couldn't pay what he owed to the stock, because he only put up 5%, right? So it ruined his whole life. He committed suicide. Now, why did he commit suicide? Because he had no idea and no knowledge of who Krishna is. His knowledge was only the stock market. Although he's born in India, he had every opportunity to become Krishna conscious, or at least be a good Hindu, let's say, But no, all he knew was the stock market, and when he lost everything, he could have started over again. But no, he was so embarrassed, he was so upset, he committed suicide, and he killed his wife and children. it's called a honor killing. So this is what happens when a person is bankrupt spiritually. If you can be bankrupt materially and still rebound and still live a life, but if you're bankrupt spiritually, then and you have a severe loss, then you think, oh, I have to finish my life. I can't live like this anymore. So better, my father told me once, better that in your good days when you're making money, that you save it. So in your bad days when you're losing money, you have money. Right? It's better than when in the good days you're making money, you spend it to buy bigger and bigger houses and cars and this thing and that thing, and get mortgages and live a lavish life. And then when there's a downturn, you go bankrupt, right? So, yeah, it's much better if you're going to make a lot of money, then you should first of all understand, who does this money belong to? Krishna. Everything belongs to Krishna. Therefore, if he gives you the opportunity to make more money, you should give a large part of it to Krishna. That way, you have a guarantee that no matter what happens, Krishna is going to take you back to Godhead. You can't bribe Krishna with money, but you can. You can follow the advice that's given by. Money is a good servant and a bad master. So, if you understand that everything belongs to Krishna, including your body, your intelligence, then you do not think that all the money belongs to you. You believe that it all belongs to Krishna. Therefore, it should only be used in the service of Krishna. So that's what happens when you become a devotee. Now, what does that mean exactly? Well, that means that, okay, you might spend a little more money to live closer to the temple so that you can come easily every day, rather than get a cheaper house, but it's far away so you can hardly come to the temple at all. Those are the type of decisions that you have to make based on what your goal is. If your goal is to go back to Godhead, then it's better to have a smaller house or a more expensive house that you can live closer to the temple so that it's easier to be engaged in devotional service and to associate with devotees, as well as do your job, put your kids in school, and so forth. That desire to be always close to devotees is very important, because that's the way you make spiritual advancement. If you live, if you can buy a cheaper house living in, Monroe, right? Well, you'll hardly ever come to the temple. It's too far. Although it's still Washington State, but still, it's going to be very hard. But if you live, in Sammamish, all right, you're going to pay a lot more money maybe than in Monroe, but you have the advantage of being able to come to the temple regularly. So those are decisions you have to make. And you'll see that when you make the right decisions like that, decision that keeps you closer to Krishna and Krishna's devotees, then Krishna helps you. He'll help you, and you'll see it, you'll feel it, you'll understand. Someone is helping me. I took a big risk, but it worked, and I can only attribute it to Krishna helping me. Hare Krishna. Okay, well, we'll stop right there. Yeah, you want to ask a question? Okay. Well, let's first of all understand what meditation means. It means that you can focus on something that is very beneficial. What is the most beneficial thing? Is to focus on Krishna. So that's what real meditation is. It's not focus on how to make more money. It's not focus on sense gratification. But you focus on how to please Krishna. And you act on it. Now, not only you're meditating, but you're also actively engaged in thinking about Krishna and actually acting to please Krishna. Now that's the premium, that's the top. So first you think about how to please Krishna, and you need to get that information. So you ask genuine devotees to explain to you, how can I please Krishna? And then you actually do it. Like, let's say someone tells you, oh, I love you, I love you, I love you. You say, oh, thank you. By the way, I need a little bit of help. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't do anything. Whoa. Then how much does that person actually love you? Right? Just saying, I love you, it doesn't really mean anything unless there's something to show for it. Right? In the same way, if you say, oh, I'm meditating with Krishna all the time, but you're not doing anything for Krishna, then you're not, okay, it's good you're thinking about Krishna, but if you're not doing anything for Krishna, practically, then it's not very beneficial. Things become beneficial when you say something and you act on it in a proper way. So the best way to show that you're serious about serving Krishna is this. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So when you're always chanting Hare Krishna, that means you're really interested in Krishna. Right? And when you also go on Sankirtan and chant Krishna's name in public and give prasadam to people and talk to them about Krishna and maybe give them a book about Krishna, that means you're really interested, that you're really Krishna conscious. You know, you're doing it by positive activity. Positive activity. But if you just say, I love Krishna, but you never don't do anything for Krishna, what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. See? So, and you can do a lot of things for Krishna. You don't have to be rich to do it. You can learn how to make halva and offer it to the deities, and then go out in the street and give people halva. You know? Or you can have some books about Krishna and go out in the street and distribute them. Or you can come to the temple and do some seva. So you see, or you can, as Krishna says, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yumi Bhakti Prashti Tadham Bhakti Bharatam Asnami Prayatat Manaha. Offer me a leaf, water, fruit, and flower, and I will accept it. So he's not asking you to offer him millions of dollars or big, expensive things. He says a leaf, water, fruit, and flower, but offered with love. Then he accepts. So that what he's actually looking for is your love. Now, when you love something, you're ready to sacrifice everything to please Krishna. Okay? So what do we sacrifice? We sacrifice meat eating, gambling, illicit sex, intoxication, prajalpa, talking nonsense. We sacrifice anything that takes our mind away from Krishna. So you are making a sacrifice. Like you sacrifice going to the movies and spending, $20 to watch some nonsense movie, right? Or you sacrifice going on the internet and spending hours and hours talking to people. And what are you talking about? All nonsense. So when we sacrifice, when we give up bad things and just do good things, that means that, see, Mayavadis, they sacrifice the bad things and the good things in order to do nothing, thinking that by doing nothing they won't get any karma. But if you do nothing, then you get nothing. But if you give up bad habits and just engage in devotional service, you get Krishna's mercy. So, yeah. Well, what would you do if, you had a dog that died? Well, you would bury it. Dust thou art, and dust thou you shall become. So, you can go on the internet. You'll see there are books about how to care for Tulsi, including what happens if she dies. Right? But Tulsi is coming from the earth. She goes back to the earth. Yeah. Go ahead. Hey, well.
Krishna being in everyone's heart is Paramatma. So obviously those who have seen this world as is a place of misery, Dukharam Asasvatam, they have come to that point when they have asked this question, the deep questions about their self and about God. Then why Krishna has guided people in different directions? So is it
Then what?
I'm like there are so many different paths for spiritual realization. Not everyone is coming to Krishna consciousness.
Yeah.
So is it like it's at the end it is individual soul's desire or Krishna's desire to come to Krishna consciousness?
Yeah, you lost me. You lost me. I don't understand your question.
At the finally it is individual soul's desire to come to Krishna consciousness or Krishna's desire to bring us to Krishna consciousness?
Look, obviously Krishna wants you to come to him. Obviously. More than you want to go to him.
Then why there is so many different like people are going in different directions for spiritual realization?
Because of bad association. Everything depends on who you associate with. If you associate with materialistic people, you become materialistic.
But like in spiritual realization, I mean, like I don't know, Mayavadi you say, or so many different
Yes.
going, right?
So many different types of bad association.
But then Krishna also guides them, like to as Paramatma, like to okay, go you attend these classes, then you like whether classes of Arya Samaj or something, or so many different sects people are there. They are guiding people to come to.
Okay, now that's a good question. That is, you're an honest person, you have a good heart, but somehow or other you're attracted by the Arya Samaj, right? I usually call it the Arya hodgepodge, right? Anyway, yeah. So there, once there was a guru, and he had a lot of disciples, and one day he told his disciples to build a concrete boat. And once it was built, he told all his disciples to get into the boat. He got into the boat. Then they launched the boat, and it went a little bit, and it sunk, and they all died. Now, when they died, they came in front of Yamaraj. And all of a sudden, Yamaraj said, well, you guys are going to have some really bad karma here, and now we're going to give you what you deserve. So the disciples started to complain and said, wait a minute, look, we were just sincerely following the guru. He said, yes, that's true. They said, well, why do we have to suffer? He said, well, you were sincerely following a bad guru. That's why you have to suffer. You made the decision. And now you have to follow, because you followed him, now you have to go wherever he's going to go. And he's going to go to hell because he's committed a lot of offenses. So everything depends on who you follow, who you're getting your information from. Now, what the false gurus do is there's two things that they do. One, they say, I don't read the Shastra, I don't need the Shastra. Okay. Or two, they give their own interpretation of the Shastra. Both are very negative and very, very harmful, because you'll never get the truth like that. And you'll never be able to know whether the guru is saying something bona fide or not bona fide. You see? Especially if he says, like Satguru, he says, I never read any Shastras. So that means you have no way of knowing whether what he says is true or false. Because basically what he's saying is you don't need Shastra, which is that's why he said I've never read any Shastra, meaning he doesn't need Shastra. That means that you have to believe whatever he says. And what if he says something false? You don't know if it's false because you don't have any baseline Shastric evidence. See? So usually the phony gurus, they either give their own interpretation of Shastra, or like Satguru, who's, at least he's being honest. He says, I haven't read any Shastra. I'm not interested. So that means he is the Shastra. Whatever he says, you have to believe it, because, and you don't have anything to prove if it's true or false. See? So that's dangerous. Two things are dangerous. If somebody is interpreting themselves what something means in the Shastra, or if someone rejects the Shastra, see, then you're in la-la land. You have no way of knowing whether it's true or false. Right? It might sound nice, just like someone might tell you, oh, well, you can buy this house and it's only going to cost you $10,000. It's actually worth $1 million. You say, really? How is that possible? Well, then they give some explanation. But actually, they're lying. And you buy the house, and you find out that it was sold to 3 other people. Now you get into a big legal, legal problem, because you've been cheated out of your $10,000 by this cheater, right? He sold the same house to 3 different people. So you have to only deal with honest people. And how do you know someone is honest or dishonest? Well, if a guru says, I don't read the Shastras, he's dishonest right away. Because you have to be Shastric to be a guru. And what does that mean, Shastric? Well, it means that you repeat what Krishna said, because he's the one who's spoken the Shastra, exactly as he spoke it. Then you are Shastric. But if you reject the Shastra, or if you give your own interpretation to the Shastra, then you've deviated seriously, and whatever you're saying is basically nonsense. See? Even though it might sound good, and you have no way of proving or testing if it's true or false, because either he's rejected Shastra or he gives his own interpretation of it. Then you just accept it. You said, well, he's got the name Guru, and he said like this and like that, and you have to accept whatever the Guru says. Well, no, not necessarily. You have a right to test what the Guru says by looking at the original Shastra. If you reject the Shastra, then you have no way of knowing whether it's true or false. And if he's giving his own interpretation of Shastra, at least if you look at the original Shastra, you can see if what he said is true or false. So, you see, without the original Shastra, you have no way of knowing if this person is honest or dishonest, even though it might sound good. It may sound good, but it's no good. So, what is the original Shastra? It's Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is Krishna speaking about himself, explaining who he is to Arjuna. Arjuna, his devotee. Okay, now there are many Bhagavad Gitas. In fact, Prabhupada said, before his Bhagavad Gita came out, there was at least 500 translations of the Bhagavad Gita since the 16th century. And not one person became a devotee by reading all those Bhagavad Gitas. Whoa, that's a big statement that he made. It's only when his Bhagavad Gita came out, 50, 60 years ago, that all of a sudden a lot of people started becoming devotees and going to Vrindavan. And Vrindavan was a very small town. Only people that lived in Delhi would go there every once in a while, but it wasn't some big place where thousands and thousands of people go to. But after Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita came out, and people started becoming devotees, and then it became very famous, and then all of a sudden, this little town called Vrindavan became very popular. Thousands and thousands of people coming from all over the world, because it's Bhagavad Gita yata rup, as it is. That was the difference between Prabhupada's translation of Bhagavad Gita and all the other translations. There were 500 translations of Bhagavad Gita in English before Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita came out. And not one person became a devotee. They read it, they talked about it a little bit, a few famous people spoke about it, but they didn't actually become devotees. So we see that there's a difference between Bhagavad Gita Yatarup and Bhagavad Gita as I want it to be. So all those other 500 translations were as the translator wanted it to be, whereas Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita translation was as it is. There's a big difference. And one time I asked myself a question. I said, look, there's so many gurus coming from India, and Prabhupada also came from India. Is there any difference between them and Prabhupada? And after thinking about it for a couple weeks, I came to the conclusion there is a big difference. Every one of those other gurus that came from India, their movement was named after them, right? Like Satguru, like Ma Amritamai. That's the way their movement was named, by their name. Whereas Prabhupada's movement was, or what Prabhupada was doing was, he was promoting Krishna book. See? So then I realized there's a huge difference. They're promoting themselves, and their movement is named after them most of the time, almost all the time. And here Prabhupada, he's promoting Krishna. You see, and he's explaining who Krishna is based on the Shastric evidence of previous acharyas in the parampara. So it took me a little while to figure that out. See, and this is what we have to do. We have to figure things out, see what the similarities or differences are. So now you can do a little research now. You go and look at all these other movements, spiritual movements. And you'll see, Ma Amritamayi, and then you'll see Sadguru, then you'll see this one and that one, Muktananda. Their movement is based after the name of the person. But Prabhupada didn't say this is the AHC Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada movement. No, he said this Hare Krishna movement. So, but you have to think about it. Is there a difference between all these other people and Prabhupada? Yes, there is. Prabhupada said he came to preach. Somebody told him, don't call it Krishna consciousness, say God consciousness. Prabhupada said, no, I've come to promote Krishna, not to say God consciousness, but the Krishna consciousness. So that's a big difference, you see. So when you see what the differences are, then you understand who's really sincere about promoting Krishna and who's just trying to piggyback on Krishna to make themselves famous. Okay, thank you very much. All glory to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.